This week on Art in the Air features Lou Shields, a musician and artist reviving traditional front-porch Americana-style music with his solo performance, sharing songs from his newest album, Calico Blue, released June 2021. Our spotlight is on artists Nancy Natow, Cassidy, and Ellen Firme discussing their June exhibit opening at the Ellen Firme Gallery on US 12 in Beverly Shores.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Art on the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m., plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's Breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. And we'd like to welcome to Art in the Air Spotlight someone who's been with us before about her new exhibit opening at the Ellen Firme Gallery, 92 US 12 in Beverly Shores, Nancy Natow Cassidy, and along with her is Ellen Firme from that gallery. Thank you to Art in the Air Spotlight.
So wonderful to have you on.
Thank you for inviting us. This is great.
Thank you.
Well, Kevin, tell us briefly first about the gallery, but then we'll get on to the exhibit, where it is and where you're located and kind of what you're doing there.
It's beautiful because it was dedicated to his mother. So, please talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, she was so wonderful and instrumental in our area. And I was so happy that you named the gallery for her.
She was a great supporter of the arts and she would collect art too. And we opened it in her name. She was still alive and she was bedridden, and I was able to carry her and put her into the gallery for the first opening. And she was on meds and she wanted some wine, and I said, well, no. She would fall or something, or I would never get her back in the car. But she enjoyed it. She likes openings, and it was a lot of fun. But I'm glad she could see it at our first show. And then she passed shortly after that. So that was nice. We're doing exhibits of local artists to feature work and also bring people in from the community to see the work. And if they have mailing lists, to bring those collectors in that they have or that they know. So people can see work and see their work and enjoy it. And it just gives a means of support to the artists that need it. And everybody needs it. So
the art, it's also part of your art supply. It's an annex to your art supply company, which has been a staple in the area for decades and decades.
Yeah, we started a long time ago. 1972, I think we built a building down the road, and we moved into this place. We overgrew it and moved into this place. We're now in 82, so we've been here quite a while. It's 92 West Highway 12, just to the west of the stoplight in Beverly Shores, where the train station is located. And the train station, we've been coordinating with the depot to have our openings at the same time, usually have them on the second Friday. So we plan to do that, and we will we do that through our season so people can go back and forth.
You picked a phenomenal artist to reopen after this pandemic, my good friend Nancy. So, Nancy, can you tell us about the work in this exhibit? Is this all current work?
Yeah, I think the oldest piece in this show is 2019. And so I would say it's fairly current. Most of it is from during the pandemic. There's a piece that I love that I did, an art sabbatical that I gave myself in Joshua Tree, California in last March. So literally 2 weeks before COVID hit and before everything was shut down, I was out in Joshua Tree, bouldering and hiking and painting. And so one of the pieces is called Desert Radiance, and that's from there. And then most of the other pieces were done afterwards here over the last course of the year.
Can you describe your work a little bit?
Yeah, I would say it's really, I do have a couple of pieces that are monotonish, done with homemade charcoal and pine needles. And my work's very nature oriented at this point, and but it's also very very rich, intense, high key color. I tend to see, even within the browns of the winter, when I really look at them, I start seeing the layers of color that make up the browns. So there might be deep purples in the browns, or blues, or they might have yellow tones. And so I tend to push those colors more. And so they become pretty intense color stories. And for me, color is energy, it's vibration. Between the color and then the shapes of nature, especially out here with the big oak trees and the prairies and the dunes and the lake, all of that kind of rolling, twisting shapes mashed together with the color, it all makes me want to move. I literally feel it in my body, from my fingers all the way down to my toes and back out again. And so it just makes me want to dance and to move and to dance the paint, like dance the pigment and make the shapes with my body. You'll see me. I mean, I try not to do this when anybody's watching, but if I'm hiking through the dunes, I will actually kind of mimic or take the shapes of the trees and the branches and use that through my body. And I think that ends up in how I paint.
Well, we're have to wrap it up there, Nancy. Nancy Natow Cassidy's exhibit, which opened on June 11th, running through the entire summer at the Ellen Firme Gallery, 92 US 12 in Beverly Shores. Thank you so much for being on Art in the Air Spotlight. You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. I'd like to welcome to Art in the Air someone who continues the tradition of American music with a solo performance. He pulls styles of music that are days gone by. He uses a 1931 National Resonator, banjo, kind of a front porch style of foot percussion, and just a whole variety of things like that. We would like to welcome to Art in the Air Lou Shields, who is not only a musician but also an artist. Lou, welcome to the show.
Hey there. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Welcome.
We'd like you to tell us a little bit about your origin story, how you got from where you were to where you are now, just kind of growing up, where you went to school, things like that are even not necessarily music related.
Well, I grew up south of Chicago in the kind of far south suburbs, and then eventually out a little bit out beyond there, and spent a lot of time in the cornfields, growing up as a kid. And eventually I got to go to college, luckily, and I did community college, and then I moved on and graduated from Governor State University, and eventually made it to Northern Illinois University and did a MFA there in art, painting. And music was always also a main passion of mine. Kind of music and art have always gone back and forth. So I spent a lot of my life learning that kind of thing, learning all those little disciplines and theories, and then trying to forget them all, as they say.
So when did you start? When did you first pick up an instrument, and what was that? Was that elementary school?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I had this kind of half broken guitar that was floating around the house, and I just used to hold it, and try to make the strings move and things. But I really didn't know much about the thing other than that it was pretty cool. And I could sit there and put the Elvis 8-track in my parents', tape deck and pretend I was Elvis for a while, that kind of thing. And I picked it up again, probably like a little later in life, maybe 14, 15 years old. And then, I really didn't get super serious about it until probably in my early 20s or something. Actually, I was kind of a late bloomer. So
was it guitar specifically?
Yeah,
or
a lot of guitar. I didn't really have much lessons as a kid for music in terms of like horn or something like that, clarinet or whatever. But once I got into my late teens, I really, really realized that I needed to be doing music somehow. And once I finally got a little more control of my life, I began getting lessons and, doing things in the way that I wanted to learn. So it was kind of a late bloom.
And so the skateboarding, did that come in the teenage years as well, or was that an older adventure?
Skateboarding was around, too. There was like an old, fiberglass board floating around left over from the 70s that my parents probably bought. And that was my, kind of butt cruiser as a little kid, and then I eventually learned how to skate on it. And I rode skateboards for quite some time in my life, much earlier than music, so I did that for a long, long time. And still try to get on there. Break my hip,
Lou, I'd like to probably explore something about your art. So, you're also an artist. We'll explore your music later, but tell us a little about that. You actually had a gallery, I think, and tell us a little about your art journey and maybe what art you do.
Yeah, well, after grad school, I was lucky enough to score a professor job teaching art in the south suburbs. And I moved to Chicago, and I lived in the city for about 5 years, something like that. And for about 2 of those years, I had a gallery in Pilsen, and it was called EXP Gallery on 18th Street in Halstead. And they had some really nice first Friday, I think it was first or second Friday openings. And, hundreds of people would come down, and it was like a big party down there. It was really cool. And so I would have a new show every month in the gallery. And a lot of it were friends that I went to grad school with, and, they were either just finishing or had just finished and were trying to get, a show in Chicago and all that. And I knew how important that was for your resume. So I was like, hey, come on out, put your stuff up. We'll have a party, get people out, and that was a lot of fun, So I did that for about 2 years and had a bunch of shows, met a lot of folks and had some fun. I'm not the greatest salesman or business person. So it was more, people were coming down and drinking wine and hanging out and listening to music and enjoying art, which was probably more what it should have been anyway, So we had a lot of fun.
When was that? What years?
It was around, I want to say around 2004 to 7 or something like that. Something around that time.
Now, Lou, tell us, you're now, at least now with COVID, and we'll talk more about how that's influenced you, but you're living in a wood cabin that you've salvaged. And so tell us about that and living kind of off the grid, so to speak, and working with wood and things like that.
Yeah, this is an off-grid cabin, and it actually was built out of salvaged materials. This room was actually added when the Amish were living here, so they actually, for some reason, put drywall in this room, the previous owner. But the lady that lived in this house along with her husband, I guess she wanted to do her looming in this room. And so this was a back porch originally, so they enclosed it and put stuff up in there. But the rest of the cabin is actually all wood and barnwood and, this and that. Every piece of it was from some other place, believe it or not, which is pretty cool. And when I bought it, it was kind of just needed a little work, but the guts were there. And so about 6 years now I've been here and I've been working on it. And, I put a small solar system in and water catchment system for my garden and all kinds of different things that have been going on around here, pretty much every week.
Including your own outhouse, right? Is that?
Yeah, well, yeah. Got to do the deeds, you know.
That's for sure. And June, is that a good place for you to kind of find your respite for your music? And we'll explore your music a little bit too. But is that kind of because that fits the style of your Americana sound?
Oh yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. I was drawing and painting old farmhouses and old barns, and now I basically have them all around me, you know, that I've kind of built and constructed and whatever else. And the two kind of inspire one another. The art and the music, they come in hand. And a lot of it was from travel originally, but now I'm like living in the middle of it all. And it's a very, very sacred place for me. I don't want to leave it, but I do sometimes, you know, to go out and do my shows and things. And because of COVID and in a slightly positive side, I've been able to spend a massive amount of time here, where before I was running all over the place, you know, trying to do shows, commuting to Chicago to teach still, and also coming back here to get my respite, you know, every week. And so it was hundreds of thousands of miles on the van and a lot of driving. And so it's been kind of a nice slowdown and a great place to come and to do work, to be inspired by the area, to write music, to record music. I have a barn that I built a couple of years ago, just over to the other side of the property. And that's kind of my recording space, you know. I won't call it a studio because it's more of a space to do music in, you know.
A studio is whatever space you can do it in. I'm doing it in
Right.
this show in my photography studio, set this little studio up. So
There you go.
You the gathering place for other musicians to come and just play? I mean, do you have those?
We're trying to work to that. My wife and I, we have this, you know, kind of pie in the sky idea of having get-togethers, and there's a really cool community in this area, art and music, and a lot of people are trying to do their original folk music. There's also a really dense old-time music community in this area, which I'm trying to slowly kind of learn and get myself into, because I'd love to have square dances and old-time jams and, you know, have a folk singer come out on a Sunday and play, you know, and maybe even a little festival once a year or something like that, something small. But yes, we're trying to work towards some of that as well, as we get all the other little things built on this property. So,
besides remodeling your house, what kind of woodworking do you do?
Well, I just kind of do anything out of necessity. You know, I mean, I built a lot of out structures on this property, a couple sheds, and, you know, a lot of things here and there. When something needs to be repaired, I try to do it as best I can. You know, I'm not necessarily a wood carver or a, you know, dovetail joint box maker, but I learned from building skateboard ramps, you know, pretty much as a kid. And, you know, it's about the same technology, I guess you'd say, same techniques. I try to do my best and make the stuff sturdy.
So in a lot of your videos, there are all these quilts. Are they made by local artists? Do you pick them up vintage? Do you make them?
My wife has a vintage clothing kind of store, if you would, virtual store. It's called Driftless Artifacts. On Instagram, it's at Driftless Artifacts. And so we go around junking, we go around to estate sales and wherever we can to try to find things that are laying under the heap, you know, at the garage sale. And so we find a lot of really cool old quilts, you know, vintage clothes, farmwear, workwear, things like that. That's the stuff that we're both kind of obsessed with. And it's a lot of fun, you know, to search this stuff down. Most people think it's a pile of rubbish in the corner of the barn or the garage or up in the attic, but it's like kind of blue gold to us, you know, so we're always looking for that kind of stuff.
So when you, and I know it's been a while since you've been out performing, but can you kind of give us an idea of what a show is like? Is it music and stories and I don't know, just curious.
To me, I think a great show would be, well, perfect show is probably listening room style audience where they're attentive and enjoying it. And a lot of storytelling along with the songs, along with the music, kind of giving a little bit of a backstory. And, you know, you try to get to know the audience a little bit and feel them out and see what they're going to maybe respond better to, you know.
And so what were the European audiences like compared to the American audiences? Did you?
Yeah, well, I've done about 5 tours in Europe, and the first couple times I want to say that they were the crowds were like so enthralled with me and some of the other musicians I was touring with that came, and it was like a breath of fresh air for them, you know. And then more and more and more of us kept coming, I think, from the same kind of circuit we were on. And then after a while, they were kind of like, eh. And so then I kind of moved out beyond that area, and it was the same thing. It was like the first exposure, I think, is a really great one, you know, like anything else. And a lot of times, you know, there is this kind of mystique of American culture and things. And so they hear about it, they love it, they want to have a little piece of it. And then when they get a chance to hear like a folk singer, you get these really honest responses that just blow you away. And it's just like, oh my goodness, they know exactly where I'm coming from. They've studied this stuff. They know all the music that came before that I love so much. Whereas in this part of the country where it originally came from, you know, a lot of people don't even know what it is, you know, and they don't even know what, you know, Andy Griffith was now. You know, a lot of people used to say that, oh, you sound like Andy Griffith or something, you know, like that, or, you know, because they could relate to a TV show. But that show's so old now that, you know, a lot of folks have nothing to relate to it, sadly. But you know, but you do get this other underground crowd that knows a lot about the history and so forth. And so if you're lucky enough to get a few of those folks, then hopefully you can do well for them.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, it's an ear. It just seems like when I was growing up, we had an ear for Appalachian music. I mean, because it was so much more prevalent and it's not so much now.
No. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's something that, like I said, I mean, there is a hardcore group that are into it, but they might be so into it that they can't enjoy it because you're not doing the proper technique, and now you've insulted me, you know. And it's like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, you know. But other folks kind of like, maybe what I was kind of feeling what you're saying too is where something strikes you inside, you feel it in your bones, and you know you like it, and it might be some old knowledge, and now you're responding to this thing that you're hearing, and you're like, oh my goodness, this sounds like home to me. I don't know why. I'm not even from that area. What is this coming, you know? So I think it's in the air, and a lot of people have heard it, have felt it, and it's something that can make people feel really good, you know, when they hear it.
You know, you have 5 full-length albums and 13 EPs out there. And does this new Calico Blue album represent your 6th album?
Yeah, I think it's 6, 7, something like that. And yeah, I lost count. A lot of them are out of print now. But yeah, so I have 4 currently available. I'm still allowing the public to want or not want, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, the Calico Blue, I just dropped it, I think this last week. It was a group of songs that I recorded towards the end of 2020. I was kind of working really hard on that group of songs all through COVID lockdown. And then I, you know, kind of spent some time deciding if I was going to put it out or not and all that. And finally, here it is. It's out. So.
Well, we want to hear some of the samples from Calico Blue, which is available on Bandcamp, blueshields.bandcamp.com. And you can find that. But let's talk about the first song that we want to talk about is Old Time Way. Set that up for us, and we'll take a listen to that.
Yeah, Old Time Way is a group of heroes from the past. They're all anonymous, and it's heroes of folks that might have done something really amazing for people in a small town that maybe the people didn't like because of the way they looked or the way they talked or who they were. But then suddenly this person saved their life, you know, and it was like this kind of deal where it's like, oh, my goodness, Fred McIntyre just jumped off the bridge and saved everybody from a fire, you know, that kind of thing. And so it's got a little bit of a kind of backstory that maybe you don't want to hear, you do want to hear, but that's Old Time Way. And it's kind of like this idea of people that, you know, are really there to help folks.
Well, let's go ahead and take a listen to it. That's Old Time Way on Blue Shield's new album, Calico Blue. That was Lou Shields on his Calico Blue album just released, Old Time Way.
So, Lou, you said that it's like a compilation of a lot of people, but was there one person that you had in mind when you were first inspired to write the song? I mean, is there some personal experience?
Yeah, well, I think I guess it might have something to do with my current artwork that I do, where they're all anonymous people that are working class folks from, that are wearing this vintage work where, they're not necessarily from the 1920s or 30s, but they have that kind of vibe. They could be now, they could be in the 80s, but they're kind of stuck from that time, And I feel like they're anonymous people who work really hard and did their job all day to provide for whomever, themselves or their family or whatever, and they also love to play music, and they didn't get famous, they weren't quote unquote important, they weren't the it people, but they were important, they did something, and they were kind of the pinnacle of the town, once maybe they're gone and everybody realizes, oh my goodness, so and so is missing, and you get that kind of thing sometimes in our little world, and good quality folks, I guess you might say, right?
So you've mentioned your artwork a few times. Can you describe more, like what is the medium you're using? And
yeah. Well, the last 5 years or so, I kind of moved to watercolor paper as the base, and I'm doing ink and watercolor. So I don't know if they're paintings or drawings. They're kind of both, you might say, a little mixed media. And the subject matter has always been these kind of folky musicians, or these working class people, whatever you want to say. Maybe they're working on their farm or their garden or their car or whatever it might be. And then they take their break at the end of the day and they entertain their soul with a little bit of music and kind of put their sorrows out, and do their thing. And that's kind of been the theme as it goes, and as I got more and more interested in the vintage work, where I started kind of really trying to get into some of the details on some of those things, because once again, those are some forgotten relics, of our past, and they're really beautiful, when you look at all the mends and all the tears and then the repairs that they would have done back then, that most folks today would never do. They just throw the thing out or send it to the Goodwill or whatever it might be and discard the garment as it would. Whereas in the past, people always recycled, repaired, kept going with it. Calico quilts,
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
I've seen some of the images of the repaired clothing. Now, does your wife do the repairs or somebody else, or do they come to you that way? Because they're very distinctive of like the way in the Japanese culture they would repair something. I mean, they're like beautiful repairs.
Yeah, some of the stuff we find luckily is that way. And I actually do a lot of repairing, and my wife does too. So especially in the winter months when it's like, so cold, can't do nothing. So that's the best time to get into that. And we've gotten a few pieces that were so beyond anything, and we were lucky to revive them, and the shirt I'm actually wearing on the cover of Calico Blue is a chin strap denim pullover, right? So it doesn't go all the way down the buttoning. It stops about right around your sternum or so. And it was completely gone. There was nothing left. And I took two other shirts and I had to sew everything together and slowly by hand stitch all the stuff. It took me like a week to put that thing back together, but it was like 20 below outside every day. So I was like, yeah, I don't care. And, it's kind of fun to give them a little shape again, and, you can give them a little more life.
It sounds like your lifestyle, your art, and your music all kind of inform one another. And I'm looking at the next song that we're going to listen to, Cabin Home Again. I assume that's about living in your cabin. So tell us a little about that, and we'll take a listen to it.
Yeah, well, Cabin Home Again is kind of about the current cabin that I have now and the one that I'm building currently on the other side of the property. I took down an old farmhouse about 3 years ago. And inside of this farmhouse was an 1880s hand-hewn log cabin. And so I got that down and I got it back to my property. And it was the wettest year in history. And the logs rotted about 30%. So I donated them to a place out west of here. and I had to start all over again, unfortunately. But those logs were used for repairs on another building, so at least they were put to some kind of good use. So it's about like seeing one of these old houses that is coming down, and maybe, you know, the family just selling the land to get the money, and they don't care about the old house that great grandpa had and whatever, and so it just turns into a burn pile pretty quick, you know. And I saw that over and over and over again, living in, you know, kind of Kankakee area, you know, like where I was at, and stuff just gets bulldozed, and the next year you'd never know that this homestead existed for 150 years, right?
And
so so you want to try to rebuild it.
That's good.
Get it back.
So in memory of that, or in kind of a salute to that, here's Cabin Home Again, Lou Shields on the Calico Blue album. That was Cabin Home Again. Lou Shields, you can find his music on loushields.bandcamp.com, and it's the Calico Blue album. So getting to your professorship, and I know this year has been really tough with it, but what courses do you teach in art? What levels and things like that, which is another aspect of the whole Lou Shields universe here.
Yeah, I used to do drawing and painting and a lot of the studio courses, but in the last so many years, I've been mostly doing art history classes and art appreciation. And I get a lot of art appreciation students, and those particular students generally aren't art majors. They're just getting introduced to it, and it's kind of a fun class to teach because a lot of folks, they don't know too much about art. They might have heard the name, Van Gogh or something like this once, and that was about it. So then you kind of turn them on to these things and just turn the lights on and say, check this out. Look at that. You don't have to like it, but you can like this one. How about that one? And you just kind of really try to bring a bunch of work to show them and give them a little backstory and expand their knowledge a little bit and hopefully their curiosity, And in the end, maybe they are like a little opened up more, and they want to go and learn more. And
go to an art gallery.
Go to an art gallery.
Museum.
Right. It's
I know.
really fun.
I taught a theater appreciation class for a few years at college level, and I think the majority of the people were not even necessarily arts majors. And so what I told them, I says I wanted them to become critics. And so the kind of the courses, and a lot of them were working people, so I couldn't really have them go see actual live shows, so that was the preference, and I arranged for that. But I have them do critique of things and come back with a written critique, and sometimes it would have to be a television show, though I preferred like a full-length feature film. But actually, some of them came out and says, I now have a new appreciation. I know, that you hear the terms protagonist, antagonist, and I said identifying those things. But yeah, that's what you're doing is much the way in art is. They sometimes will come out and say, I never even thought about art, and it's in their universe.
Yeah, right. Yep. And suddenly now they're maybe becoming an artist. And, oh my goodness, right?
Well, the next song we want to hear is Harder Than the Easy Way. So let's hear a little bit about that.
Well, that tune's a lot about, putting in the time, putting in the work and doing the best you can. I guess a lot of folks are saying you're not supposed to say work hard anymore, but I still come from that idea of putting in the time and effort and energy, and it's just like the title says, it's not always the easiest way of doing things, but sometimes, it might pay off a little more for you later in your soul and all that if you don't sell out and become this or that, in the end.
Yeah, it takes more than a weekend to become a master craftsman.
Right. And in the music world, the art world, you can very easily do some things to make money quick, and then you're done. That's it. You've already, it's over. But if you have this lifelong love of it and so forth, then you're always going to be kind of chasing that next, little thing, that little inspiration, that spark, and continue to do what you do.
Let's take a listen to Harder Than the Easy Way, Lou Shields' new album, Calico Blue.
There ain't no more that I could do, done all I could in them days. Gave it all and I learned how, but no other way. What else could a good man do? This world wasn't meant for me. Made my way from hell and back through. It's harder than the easy way, yeah. Harder than the easy way, well. So I found my own way out. Dark cloud turned gray. Old wood stove and a folding car. Make
Easy Way, Lou Shields, again, from his Calico Blue album. So tell us about the instruments. I said them at the top of the show, but tell us a little bit like the resonator guitar, banjo, all the things that you do to make your music, because you're really kind of a one-man band.
Yeah, I play a 1931 national guitar, but it's actually a Sears and Roebuck national guitar, which is an interesting story. So in that year, they made 400 of them and marketed them through the Sears Roebuck catalog. And it was the only time they did it. The only difference between the normal national guitar, if you're familiar with the brand, is they didn't put the brand sticker on it. And they added a different serial number in the cover plate over the resonator on the body. So this is a metal bodied guitar that I'm talking about. Was a little different than the standard. But the cool thing was that those catalog from that early period was that a lot of rural folks were able to order instruments that way. A lot of folks that wouldn't even be allowed in a store at that time, were able to purchase items and gain them, get them to their homes in that way. So there's some interesting stuff about that, it wasn't always the maybe the city slicker, you might say, or whatever, that could get their hands on anything, it was maybe a little harder for someone living way out in the sticks. And so, this guitar has traveled pretty far and wide, and it's been heavily used and abused. The fellow I got it from a Western swing player, and it was in a bag, all in pieces, in the neck was sticking out, and he traded 2 fiddles for it and put it all back together and played it for about 20 years. And he kind of sent it to me, and I got it all fixed up again. I had to get it completely rebuilt, and a lot of different things were needing a lot of total repair. And I took it to the best repair shop in Madison, Wisconsin, and they were like, "No way, this is junk." And I took it to another friend of mine in Milwaukee, Old Time Strings Guitars. If you look at him on Instagram, at Old Time Strings Guitars, and he totally repaired this thing, put it all back together, got it working, and it's an amazing instrument. So I'm very lucky to have it now, and happy to be playing it.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
So at Paul Henry's, did you ever meet Mike Owens, who also plays resonator beautifully?
I unfortunately never got to meet him yet. Jim Quattrocchi has told me all about him many times, and I'd love to hear him play. I've seen some of his videos, really great.
Oh, he's fabulous. He was like, he played at our gallery every month generally, cool. And oh my gosh, he developed quite a fan club.
Oh, that's awesome. Yep, they're fun instruments. They really do have a unique sound, and everybody kind of plays them a little differently, which is kind of fun. They have a voice inside of them, and you just got to find it.
Your other instruments, banjo, and some of the other things you do, harmonica. Tell us about how all those incorporate into your whole.
Making your own percussion.
Yeah.
Play a Mark Ryder Vega style banjo. It's kind of a 1920s style 5-string, very typical plain Jane banjo. But it's been for about 5-6 years, and I've never had to do a thing to it because it's just like very well made. This guy in Lansing, Michigan makes them. And so that's my banjo, and I kind of really learned banjo completely by ear. That was my secondary instrument, and so I have, though, gone in and tried to learn some traditional old time ways of playing banjo. You might say overhand or claw hammer, because people like to argue about how to say that, or frailing. They'll argue all day about which one you want to say. And 2-finger and all these different styles, and sawmill and double C and tuning and all this kind of. But I just really, when I'm performing my stuff, I like to just do what I do. And so sometimes people are like, "Oh my goodness, he's not playing the proper technique," and all that. It's my music. It's what I do, and so I kind of came up with my own style of playing, I guess, banjo and kind of guitar a little bit, and so I have a lot of fun, just trying to write songs and making that happen and making the sounds happen that I need. I used to use a lot of foot percussion. Nowadays, I kind of have a really good stomp box that keeps a nice steady bass, and that's about all I do with that anymore. But I used to kind of use a lot of handmade things that I was trying to build and do, back in the day. to keep the rhythm. But I kind of found that just maybe a steady beat of bass is about all I need.
Before we get to your next song, have you ever collaborated with other musicians to play like collectively, or you're just like your one-man band style?
Always just kind of a solo artist, as I do. I have like this tremendous phobia of playing with other people. I have a hard time, anxiety and so forth. And I'm comfortable with what I'm up to when I'm just there on the stage and I got all my stuff ready to go. But then when you start adding people together, I start freaking out and have to run away.
Well, tell us about the next song we want to listen to off of your album. It's called Walk Along the River.
Yeah, this one's just a great kind of summertime song, I guess you might say. Living in the Midwest, we're dealing with these 4 seasons every year, and winter seems like it's the main season, right? And it's just cold, 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 and you want to get outside and so forth. And then when you finally get to that point, there's that week where it's maybe 72 degrees and you can really just kind of enjoy the nice sunshine and the cool water and all that good stuff. And then when it gets really hot, then you just got to get into the river and stay in it and be wet and cool off from the hot sun, So it's kind of like this song about, just getting outdoors and enjoying your Kickapoo River, which is right down my way from me right now.
Well, let's go take a walk along the river with Walk Along the River. Lou Shields from the Calico Blue album, which has just been released.
Ain't no cloud in the sky today, heading out of town in the river valley, when I walk along the river. Well, I walk along the river. Summertime done come my way, and I ain't got no mind to say. But I wanna flow on the rocky shore, catfish galore coming back for more. Well, I walk along the river. Well, I walk along the river now. Summertime done come my way, and I ain't got no mind to say. Well, now cold when the snow ain't there no more, green leaves done growing, I'm a ride for sure, yes, I walk along the river. I walk along the river. Summertime done come my way, and I ain't got no mind to say. Five little turtles on the log on the mill. Well, it's been fine and I'm a rider, see, yes, I walk along the river. Well, I walk along the river. Summertime done come my way, and I ain't got no mind, I say.
And that was Walk Along the River, Lou Shields, and that's on his new Calico Blue album that's just released June 2021.
Well, you just took us along that summer experience. Do you have any vivid memories or atmospheric kind of things that, like, what's your most vivid childhood experience? Like, I know I have a few with my grandfather.
I'll try to keep it short and quick here, but it's kind of full circle for me because when I was a kid, I used to come here where I'm at and play in the Kickapoo River near Ontario, Wisconsin, climb a bunch of sandstone bluffs and get in all kinds of trouble that my parents didn't know how to. Having so much fun with my cousins, My Aunt Nancy lived out here, and we'd come and visit all the time. And I think I chased the entire world trying to find this place again where I'm at now. Going to Montana and getting out to the to the mountains and so forth, and that's some of the greatest vivid memories of discovering the outdoors, and then now rediscovering them here again where I live now, and very happy to be here. So it's kind of a weird deal, but it made it back somehow.
No, that's so beautiful.
Yes, it is. Well, yeah, we want to know a little bit. Tell us about how people can find you on the web, both your music and your art.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Lou Shields. You can find me on Instagram at Lou Shields. My website is loushieldsart.com. My music is on Bandcamp. It's a pretty cool platform. If you go to bandcamp.com and type in Lou Shields, you'll find me on there. A lot of artists get lost on Spotify and don't get paid, when you stream and things like that. But Bandcamp, the money actually gets back to the artist. So it's a pretty good place to support a musician if you want to do that.
Very good. Any final thoughts you want us to tell our audience about, and any performances that you might have coming up?
I got a lot of stuff up here in Wisconsin. Hopefully I'll get back to the region soon, someday, and do some shows out y'all's way. But until then, maybe I'll have to come down and do a backyard show or something.
Or when Paul Henry reopens, get you there. So.
Or you know what? The Art Barn.
There we go. Have to find them.
Oh, it's a great. I just had a piece in an exhibit there. So, well, Lou, we appreciate you coming on the show. That's Lou Shields. He's an American solo music artist from bringing music styles from days gone by with all the wonderful things. You can see his new album Calico Blue on Bandcamp, and you can find him at loushieldsart.com. Lou, thank you so much for being on Art in the Air. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Built that old front porch from an old barn you'll see, and that butternut floor from old school out east. Well, through the beadboard and dovetailed through the band, gave it a new life now. Well, it's a cabin home once again.
You've been listening to Art in the Air, and we'd like to thank our guests this week on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art in the Air is heard every Friday at 11 a.m. and rebroadcast Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP. Art in the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m. Plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Thanks again to Greg Kovach, WVLP station manager, and Tom Maloney, vice president of radio operations for Lakeshore Public Radio. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. Art in the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project grant and the National Endowment for the Arts. Underwriters for Art in the Air, Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments and Mary Levan, Arts Patron. Art in the Air is always looking for financial support. We'd like to thank our current supporters. If you're looking to support Art in the Air, Esther and I especially would invite you to become an underwriter of this program in particular. We have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA. You can find out support information there. So don't just be an Art on the Air listener. Become a supporter or underwriter in whatever amount you're able to do so we continue to bring you great content and this great local programming. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. And you'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's Breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck, BRECH.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.